Guten Tag, ladies and gentlemen. German name 1990 here once again. Earlier this year, I promised you I was going to make a multi-part special of every single Wheel of Fortune game that Tiger Electronics has ever released. But before I do that, I thought I'd show you some other Tiger games that I own, starting with this one. Now, while Sonic the Hedgehog 2 was the first game that many Sonic fans have played, myself included, there may be some differences as to how they were played. Many fans growing up back in the 90s played the Sega Genesis version. Other people played the Sega Game Gear version. Some, including myself, played the Tiger Electronics handheld version. This was the first Sonic the Hedgehog. This was, believe it or not, the first Sonic the Hedgehog game I have ever played, as well as the first Tiger Electronics game that I ever played. So here's what happened. Christmas time of 1993, my cousin got a Sonic the Hedgehog 2 Tiger game from my mother, Christmas time, and he was very, very excited about it. He was one of the first Sonic fans out there. And I remember, and it was all caught on tape as well. My then 3-year-old self, made my way, curious to see what it was. Well, a relative pulls me aside. She says, "Bill, that's not yours." My uncle, who was filming the whole thing, was pretty amused by this. In the meantime, they figured, you know what, it's time for me to have a gift. And here's what happened. I got a Captain Crunch magnet. And don't get me wrong, I loved playing with refrigerator magnets when I was very, very young. But I was less than impressed about it. All the while, my cousin made my way up to my mother to thank her. And she said, you know, you wouldn't mind if Bill had a chance for this, to play with this for a while, would you? He's not going to be able to play with this again. Once we're gone, you can play this all you want. My cousin reluctantly agreed. So I got to play this for a few minutes, and I was struggling just to figure out how this worked. And then eventually my cousin wanted it back, did not want to give it to him, only for my dad to tell me to give it back to him. So I gave it back to him. But as it turns out, my mother was right. I didn't get to play this again for the next 7.5, 8 years or so. Years later, my cousin moved on to other things, and he pretty much gave me... he unwittingly got me into Sonic a few years later. So he gave me his Sonic 2 game that he owned. He gave it to me. This was mine to keep. So, what do you know? I got to play with this after all. How am I at it? You're better off playing the Game Gear and Sega Genesis version. I will say this. Tiger Electronics did not have the best track record in the gaming industry. Most of the games that they made really weren't all that good. The controls don't age well. But another game that my cousin gave to me was Sonic Spinball. Believe it or not, this is actually, if you ask me, this is kind of better than the Genesis version. The Genesis version, and maybe even the Game Gear version, is very, very difficult. The Tiger version, on the other hand, like I said, at least in my opinion, is much easier to play, much easier to understand. It's basically electronic pinball, only with Sonic. Now here are some other Tiger games that I own. Here's a Lights Out game. This is one of Tiger's... This is one of those games that Tiger is very, very well known for. They also came out with a whole bunch of Jeopardy games as well. Here are two of them that I own. Just a regular old handheld version. And then there's Jeopardy Remote, which in my opinion is the best Jeopardy game that Tiger Electronics has ever released. It really feels like you're playing a legit game of Jeopardy, and it's very easy to play, very easy to understand, very easy to set up. And there are two modes of gameplay with this thing. One, you can buzz in with a multiple choice, or the other mode of gameplay that this thing has is you can answer without, you can give an open-ended answer just like on the actual show. And it's very compact. The little things that you use to answer, not answer questions, but question answers. That's what Jeopardy is about. It's not about answering questions. It's about questioning answers. Where they give you the answer, you have to come up with the question yourself. But yeah, that's where these little buzzer things go into. But now here's the part I'm sure many of you people have been waiting for. I will show you my entire collection of Wheel of Fortune games. And here they are, ladies and gentlemen. Every single Wheel of Fortune game and puzzle cartridge that Tiger Electronics has ever released. So here's a nice little look at them. Here is the original 1996 game that I got 25 years ago today. That's why I'm shooting this special. That's why I'm making this special. Is that 25 years ago today, I got this Wheel of Fortune game. And it was so popular, Tiger released it abroad. They released it if I'm right, they also released it in Australia and the United Kingdom. But they also released it in France and Germany. They came out with 2 Wheel of Fortune games for their ill-fated Gamecom. In case you're wondering, yes, I also have the Gamecom Pocket Pro. New in package, everything. Here are all the cartridges for the original Wheel of Fortune game. All 12 cartridges for the American game. The sole Dust Protector cartridge for the French game. The Dust Protector cartridge for the German game. And 2 expansion cartridges also for the German game. German name, German game 1990. Ain't that funny? Try to say that 10 times over. And then here are the Wheel of Fortune slots. Here are all the Wheel of Fortune slots games that I own that Tiger came out with back in 1998. Here's Wheel of Fortune Deluxe from 1999. Here are all 3 expansion cartridges for it. In fact, let me show you. Here's what the prototype looks like. Compare it to, do a nice little side-by-side comparison. We're going to go down here. We're going to see Wheel of Fortune Junior. There's that. There's the cartridge, the Dust Protector cartridge. Here is the Wheel of Fortune Classic game from 2001. Here's the Dust Protector cartridge for it. Here's the 20th Anniversary Edition. Here's Parker Brothers 2nd Edition from 2005. It's the Dust. That's the original packaging that it came in. Here is the Travel Keychain game from 2001 or 2002 or so. Here's the Pocket game from 2003. Here is Wheel of Fortune Crossword from 2002. And here is my very rare and very, very coveted Wheel of Fortune Live Play. So I'm going to go into detail of each game that I have starting today, starting with the original 1996 game. But before I do that, I'm also going to tell you some of the basics of how the game works. For those who already, whether or not you already know how the game plays, you basically spin a giant wheel. The gameplay is you spin a giant wheel, you choose a letter. If it's a puzzle, you get money for it. Now, you can't choose just choose any letter. You have to choose consonants after spinning. After choosing a correct letter, if you have enough money, you can buy a vowel. They cost only $250. And if you think you know the word puzzle, it's essentially hangman with roulette. If you know what it is, you solve the puzzle. And if you're right, you're the one who gets to keep the money and move on to the next round. And there are some other special spaces on the wheel that will keep the game exciting. There are some pretty interesting things there. And that's just basic. That's some of the basics for those who don't know Wheel of Fortune. It's been on for a long, long time. It's been on for many years. In fact, January 6th will be 47 years to the day that the show premiered on NBC. It premiered way back on January 6, 1975, and it became syndicated as a nighttime show in the late summer of 1983. But I will show you, but for those who do know the show very well, they know the show like the back of their hand, let me show you some of the basics of how each button works. So you have the on and off button. So you have the on and off button, you have the sound button, you can do the sound, you turn the sound on and off, but the game needs to be on first. So you press the game. Just so you know, there are no batteries inside this one. And then, so you turn the game on, you listen to the theme music, and then you press, you can press this button to skip the theme music, and then this button is to choose the number of players. Now, if you decide to choose only one player, you will play against only one computer opponent, not two. Regardless, if you choose to have two human players, you press this button until the word two players shows up. You're going to have two players alongside, if I'm right, with a third computer player, with the computer player possibly being with the third player possibly being the computer player. That is, if the computer player is going to be playing in that mode. So after you do that, after you choose the number of players and then press enter to start the game, you're gonna see the category, you're gonna see the puzzle, you're gonna see the category and then the puzzle, and then you press this button to spin the wheel. The pointer is going to move around and stop on a value. And buy a vowel. Again, if you have $250, you choose a vowel. And then you have solve and clear. If you think you know the puzzle, you press this button and you get to type in using the keyboard. If you think you made a mistake, press this button to try again. If I'm right, you have only 3 attempts at solving the puzzle correctly. So if you screw up 3 times, forget it. Your turn's over. Now, after you entered in your solution, you press this button, and if you're right, you win the round. And you do the same for you pretty much do the same thing for subsequent rounds. Now, for the bonus round, you get to choose from W, H, E, E, or L. That was the bonus round format that was used from 1989 to 2001 in the actual show. And then for most of these games, I will actually tell you which one, the bonus round value that you're playing for will be determined by the pointer pointing to the value on the wheel. That will actually be multiplied by 10 times. So if you see a pointer and you see the pointer pointing to a $600 space, that means you're going to be playing for $6,000 in the bonus round. R, S, T, L, N, and E will be given for free. Afterwards, you choose 3 consonants and 1 vowel. During this time, you can press this button to check the category. But after you choose your 3 consonants and 1 vowel, you have to solve. You cannot press this button while trying to solve the bonus puzzle, because if you do, and you cannot press this button to check the category. If you try to, the game will think that you're entering an incorrect solution. So watch out for that. So I'll show you which games will have the value be multiplied by 10. You're going to have these 3 games, of course. You're going to have this game. You're also going to have this game as well. Now during this game, the value will actually be shown on screen, and that's actually and you'll be playing for 10 times the amount shown on this screen. But for other Wheel of Fortune games, such as these three, and this one, there are going to be 4 possible bonus round prizes. They are $10,000, $15,000, $20,000, and then the top $25,000. So like I said, part 1, being this game, will be up shortly. See you then.